Head over to BoardGamePrices.com to see the best price for the Grizzled Armistice and thousands of other games. Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here, and today we're going to be going back to the trenches. In those trenches, the World War was fought. Now today we're going to be in those trenches again, but going through different chapters within them, because today we're going to be taking a look at the Grizzled Armistice. Now, the Grizzled itself is a cooperative game that came out a few years ago that I highly recommend and I really enjoy, but this is a campaign-style game that includes all sorts of different things that will happen throughout the campaign. So this is going to be a non-spoiler review. I'm just going to give you a basic idea of how the game, the Grizzled, works without spoiling anything, and then I'm going to show you how the campaign sort of works, but again, trying not to spoil anything for you. So let's take a look. Now the Grizzled Armistice comes with all of these really cool miniatures that are painted, and it comes this way. This is not a special edition. It looks really cool. And here's a closer look at what those minis look like. Now I'm not going to spoil anything in this overview, but I do want you to see that there is essentially little separators here that help you put up all the different chapters that you'll be going through, things you'll save, victory points, things like that will all stay in this insert. Now the game has a tutorial that helps you learn. It's called Boot Camp. It's a really cool way. It's a very easy way to relearn the game or learn it for the first time. Kind of tells you what to do, don't shuffle the cards, things like that. Then there'll be some things on the back of a story I'm not going to show you, some more stories and things I'm not going to show you. It tells you the rules and how to set up on the back of this. I'm not going to show you. And then it has a briefing of what you're trying to do in this mission. I'm not going to show you. And then this says stop, read this at the end of the first mission. So this is sort of the way you'll go through all of the chapters, but I'm showing you that without spoiling anything. Now each of the players, once they've selected their miniature, they'll take the corresponding card to match that miniature. That's who they'll be throughout the game. So I'm going to show you basically how a game of the Grizzled works without spoiling anything. Each of the players has their character. It's out near no man's land. And then there is a sort of a piece deck that you're trying to get through. And there's sort of the trauma deck and the morale deck over here that you're trying to not empty. If this ever gets emptied, you lose the game. If this ever gets emptied and everyone runs out of cards, you've won this specific mission. So you're trying to get rid of these by playing cards. So how the game's played is each player is going to be playing a card most of the time. When they play a card, it's going to have certain threats on there. Like this has two threats, a knight and a bullet. What you're trying to do is get rid of all your cards if you can and then withdraw from this round. Each round is known as a mission. And you're trying to get rid of your cards and withdraw to have a successful mission. Now you don't even have to get rid of all your cards to have it be successful, but you're trying not to fail a mission. How you fail a mission is if you have any three of the same threats. Let's say 3 knights or 3 bullets or anything like that. For example, let's say another player was to play this. Now players can never talk about what they have in their hands, but you can talk about what's out there. Like right now, there's 2 bullets. And so everyone's got to be very careful because if a third bullet is played, mostly by accident because everyone can see this, then you would fail this mission. Now that doesn't happen too often. Usually you're successful, but it's a matter of how many cards you can get out of your hand while being successful in the game. So we go like this. Now sometimes instead of playing a card, you can flip your lucky charm symbol. And what this does is this has snow. So if it was my turn, I could flip this over to use that special ability to get rid of this snow card, which would be great. And maybe another player, sometimes you'll play cards and it actually has 2 threats on there. This is snow and rain. Let's say the next player plays this card. Now we have 2 bullets and 2 snow. So if a third one of either of those come out, this mission will not be successful. So what happens is sometimes players will just withdraw and get out of the game. And they might still have some cards left over when they do that, and that's okay. Sometimes players will play cards, and it will be a trauma card. These cards sit in front of them, and it's constant. As long as this player is in the round, this adds to the threat that's out here. Now this is a knight, and this card here is a knight, so now we actually have 2 knights as well. However, on my next turn, if this player withdraws and comes back, this threat is no longer active and that knight is not out there. So you'll continue doing this playing cards until everyone withdraws or until 3 threats come out. Hopefully you get done without 3 threats, and it's considered a successful mission. That happens most of the time unless someone makes a bad mistake. Now when that mission's successful, these cards get discarded. If by accident it wasn't successful, these will get shuffled up and put back on here, which is bad because you're trying to get through all of this. Then everyone's going to try to give support to players. Now everyone starts with some support. It's coffee, and usually that's going to say right or left on there. And as a player withdrew In addition to doing that, they would actually select their support and put it here. Once everyone's withdrawn, everyone flips over their support, gives it to the player that it says to give to. Now, whoever has the most, if one player has more than everybody else, like this, let's say I got 2 support, a couple of things happen. Number 1 is you can flip your special ability over, and 2, if the mission was successful, you can actually get rid of up to 2 of these trauma cards out there like that. And so that's just a way of helping people out using this support. But before starting the next mission, this is all considered one big game or chapter, but there's multiple rounds or missions, a certain amount of these morale cards, a morale drop will happen. A certain amount of these will come from this deck onto this deck. And this will depend on the amount of cards players still have in their hands. So the more cards players have in their hands, the further this is going to go, but there's always a minimum of 3 and a maximum of 6 that can come over here. So now remember, if these 2 cards ever come out, we would lose. However, now the player, the new leader, which is the next player clockwise, will get to give out a certain amount of these to each player. And if this becomes empty, let's say each player now has 3 cards, if those players are able to completely get rid of their cards this round, because the peace sign's there, if all the cards are there, they've won this chapter. Otherwise, they keep going until possibly you lose by showing the monument because morale dropped too much. That's generally how a game works. And now for the campaign, as you can see, I was just playing through a little bit of the tutorial there, but as you see, you'll go through chapters, there'll be cards, certain things will happen, and there's 9 different chapters where you'll go through all the different things that are there in the entire campaign. All right, well, there is the Grizzled Armistice. With this great production, the minis are awesome. They're very big. They just look really cool. The painting's really nice on them. And also the production of the box itself, where it has all those separators where you can keep all the cards, all the save stuff, all the victory points and things like that. Great production of this. I like that the game has a tutorial to learn the game. You know, it had been a while since I had played the game and my group, who all had played it before. And it was really good to dive into that tutorial just to kind of give you a refresher of how the game's played. So I like that it did that. I also like that the early chapters really ramped the difficulty. One of the drawbacks of the original base game is that it was incredibly difficult to win, and you really get your butt kicked a lot in that game until you start getting a lot better, and then it's still very hard. So the tutorial is just very easy, but it's a good way to teach it, and that first chapter really does, it's a lot easier than that original base game, and I like that because it allows you to sort of ease into the chapter, into the story, and things like that. I like that it slowly integrates new mechanisms between the chapters. So without spoiling anything, there are, like, I'd say 3 major mechanisms that get brought into the game that are used throughout the game. Now, one of them is sort of one that you may have seen possibly before. I'm not going to say anything more about that, but you know, I like how it sort of integrates those throughout the game. Plus, as the chapters go on, the variability of those new mechanisms build throughout the different chapters. So it's like this ever-changing puzzle, and there's some other things that happen too, but I'm not going to mention that. I like that some parts of the campaign actually have you stop and unlock mid-mission, where other ones, you know, will unlock at the end of the mission, but it kind of gives things a change as you get towards the middle or end chapters there. I like that certain things that you do will hurt or help you in the whole entire campaign, depending on the outcomes of certain missions and certain battles and things like that. And I like that certain things will affect the end game campaign score that you do throughout your missions. I like that it's not legacy, so it can be played through again. You're not going to be putting stickers, you're not going to be ripping up stuff. It's a very, a thing that adds new puzzly pieces to an already puzzly co-op game. And so you can easily replay it because, again, the puzzle of the variability and stuff in the box is going to make every play feel different anyway. So overall, I like this a lot because I like the original Grizzled, and this allows you to kind of, it just opens that door up to more varied play and new things to think about and work towards. Anything negative? Well, it is a campaign, and as these new mechanisms come out and new rules come out and new things come out, you really do need to play this with the same group, because halfway through you're not going to be able to bring someone that hasn't played Grizzled. I mean, you probably could, but they'd have quite a decent learning curve to kind of get up to speed. It wouldn't be the end of the world, but definitely I would say it's best if you play this with the same group, which can be hard for a lot of players to have the same people play the same thing all the way through. There are rules at the back to play a standalone game, so you don't have to play the campaign. And the standalone game is very close to the game that you would play if you had gotten the original expansion at your orders, or it adds certain types of cards, it allows you to vary the difficulty, and I like that. But the only negative here about that is that there's not rules in the back to allow you to play a single game that used the original base game setup. So if you want to just play the exact base game using this box, There's not an easy way I know to do that because the cards come out, they're numbered, there's not an exact way to set that up. Maybe they'll come out with a way to do that, with rules later on. Also, the 2-player game, now this is 2 to 4 players. The base game was 2 to 5. There's reasons for that I'm not going to mention, but 2 to 4 players, with the 2-player, it's you basically play as 2 of the players, and when it's that player's turn, you look at that player's card, and then you put them down, and you can't look at them again until it's their turn again. So you're playing 2 different players, and you're using a memory element. I did not like that. So I would say this is a 3 or 4 player game, and going into it, the expectations is, don't expect this to be some type of crazy things happening like a legacy game or a super narrative one. There is a story, but it's not like it's going to change and twist and things like that. So if you go into it just thinking, hey, this is going to be a campaign game, it's going to add different pieces of the puzzle, it's going to add variability to a game that you already maybe like, then I think this is going to be one to check out, and that's the Grizzled Armistice. The overview in this video was shot on a Watson model Game Topper. Upgrade every game you play with the ultimate gaming accessory, Game Toppers, shipping now. Check them out at GameToppersLLC.com.